he had a very special pastime that he performed every time that he would speak. He chose this very intimate song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Shri Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. He would sing that before he spoke. Why did he do this? What were his moods in singing this song? We'll discuss this. But first, I want to request Sripad Bhagwat Maharaj, who is very good at singing this nice song, to please sing Jaya Radha Madhava for us in the melody that Srila Prabhupada always sang. Mridangawallas, Kartals, all please come.
You're my favorite adult. Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Prabhupada Bharamansa Parvajagajaya Satara Sadasi Sima Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Bharamansa Parvajagajaya Saraswati Sima Srila BhaktiVinoda Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajagacharya Saraswati Sima Srila BhaktiVinoda Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Srila Prabhupada Tirobhav Ki Om Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Glories to you, Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you very much.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Guruvagyam Shirishi Dharyam Shaktavesha Surupani Hare Krishneti Mantrena Paschatya Vrachyatarini Vishvacharya Prabhajarya Divya Karunya Murtai Shri Bhagavata Madhurya Gita Jnana Pradayani Gaura Shri Rupa Siddhanta Saraswati Nishevani Radha Krishna Padam Bhoja Bringaya Gurave Vancha Kalpatarudhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Mahabhadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Tishe He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Paripriya Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrind. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone very loud. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My unlimited Dandavat pranams, my Shraddha Pushpanjali, I'm offering to the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela, Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Ashto Tarasata, Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta, Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. I'm offering also my unlimited Dandavat pranams and Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Leela Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pada Sto Tarasata, Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak, Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Leela Pravishta, Om Vishnu Pad Asto Tarasata, Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta, Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of our Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. My Dandavat, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis assembled here today at Sri Radhe Kunja under the guidance of our Tridandi Sannyasigan, senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavas. So Srila Prabhupada, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada, he is the person who fulfilled the prediction of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu also predicted that in the future, a very great general of the army of Sri Krishna, personal associate of the Lord, he would descend into this world and he would bring this movement of Lord Chaitanya to every corner of the world. Many years later, this person, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he was speaking about this prediction toward the end of his manifest presence in this world. And he was saying that, yes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur predicted that there would come such a person. And he said in a very humble way, maybe it is that I am that person. And actually he never took credit for this unparalleled, incomparable, never seen before achievement. No one had done it. No one. Not even one iota of what he had done in terms of this type of service, of bringing this to every part of the world. But he said, actually, it is not my credit. It is my Guru Maharaja's credit, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He said that at the very beginning of his Western journey, as he wrote it in his prayer on the Jaladuta. And he said it at the end also. It is all the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. And if any credit can be given to me at all, then at least I can say that I have not tampered with this. I have not changed anything. I have delivered like a postman delivers a letter. I have simply delivered it, and that is my credit. And he also told all of us, you also do this. Srila Prabhupada was a general in the real sense. He was a commander. And he had armed forces with weaponry and major bombs. Yes. We were his soldiers. While he was physically present, we were his soldiers. He commanded his forces every step of the way. Even I was in a tiny little storefront temple in Chicago, this big, huge Kali Yuga city of America, next to New York like this, very big. And just a few, little tiny handful of us were going out on the streets every day with Harinam Sankirtan, 6 hours every single day, on schedule, 3 hours in the morning, come back for lunch, 3 hours in the afternoon. Rain, snow, ice, below zero temperatures, hot weather, rain, everything. Why did we do this? How were we able to do this? What was inspiring us to do this? Prabhupada. He was on the other side of the world at the time. He was in India. He had gone back 1970 to bring this movement again to India, which had forgotten their own culture, their own religion, and now they were chasing after the stool on the other side of the river. Prabhupada called this. Like the hog that sees a person passing stool on the other side of the river, and he swims across the river to get the stool. Prabhupada saw that so many Indians are leaving India to go to the West like the hogs going to get stool. What are they going for? Nothing but mundane sense gratification, money. So he came back to remind everybody in India. But in the meantime, his fledgling movement was exploding in America, even in Europe. It was exploding. That very year that he was gone, hundreds of new young devotees joined this mission of Lord Chaitanya. I was one of them. I came just a few days before he left. We had to wait an entire year for him to come back. So while he was gone, he was completely in control of everything that was happening in his movement, because they had these little things called aerograms. You ever saw a little blue aerogram nowadays, in the days of email and everything else? An aerogram was a piece of paper that folded up, and it was very cheap to send it across the world. So Prabhupada, he was writing letters continually. We have the book of all of his letters, how he was instructing his leaders. Every single week, practically, he was writing a letter to every single temple and temple president, and even so many of his disciples, they were asking questions from him by letters, and he was answering. So Srila Prabhupada was hands-on management, completely, 100%, and giving spiritual instruction continually. And because we were receiving in our tiny little storefront, on occasion, 1 or 2 of these letters. And in nearby temples in Detroit and St. Louis, and then they would share their letters with us. We got this letter from Prabhupada. So we felt his presence fully, that he is there, completely aware of what we're doing. And what were we doing? Very simple. We were doing what he taught. Chant Hare Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra, continually. We would recite, after our Mangalartik every morning, we would recite Sikshastakam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is all about chanting the holy name of Krishna. We would recite the Sanskrit verses, and then we would read the English. Chaito Darpanam Arjanam Bhavamahadavagninirvapanam. And we would also recite every day Gurvastakam prayers to Prabhupada. We used to sing it. Before he introduced the chanting of the Sri Guru Charana prayer, Charana Padma prayer, we only had the Gurvastakam. And we also had Prabhupada's own voice singing this Gurvastakam prayer on the first recorded LP, you know, those round, flat things that they used to call record albums. Prabhupada made one at that time. It was called the Happening album. I don't know if he named it the Happening album. But in those days, you see, in those days, it was the days of the hippie movement, right? And the hippies had all kinds of different ways of...
Where's the happening?
Happening? Right.
Happening.
Yeah, they would have things like be-ins. What is a be-in? Did you ever hear of a be-in? Anybody that's less than 50 years old here probably doesn't know what a be-in is. 60, huh? 60, okay. Be-in. And then they had things called love-ins. And what it was is just like the youth just got together and then they had a festival of just expressing themselves, because there was a philosophy in those days to be here now. Just be here. And they were into psychedelics and all this. And so they called them be-ins. You just arrive, you just be. You just be in the be-in. And then they had love-ins. Yeah, and then they used to say, oh, that's a happening place, man. That's really happening. It's happening. So somebody named the record album of Srila Prabhupada the Happening album. And Prabhupada's picture was on the cover. One of the most ecstatic photos ever taken of Srila Prabhupada. To this day, head and bust shot of Prabhupada, and his face is just illuminated. His eyes are kind of squinting because he's smiling so big. And on this album, he recorded the Maha Mantra. He recorded the Maha Mantra on one side of the record, and also he read his short lecture explaining the meaning of the Maha Mantra. And I'm sure that the Prabhupada disciples here, or those who are older, who've listened to this many times, can probably recite it verbatim. I know that my Kanis Maharaj can. So, and on the other side of the record, there was the Gurvastakam prayers. Samsara dava nalalita loka Tanaya karunya gana gana boom. Bongo drum, because he didn't have a mridanga then. So he's playing a bongo drum. Give me that mridanga. And he was, you know, it had two heads, but Prabhupada was playing it like this. Samsara dava nalalita loka Tranaya karuna gana gana tvam Pratasya kalyana gunana vasya Vande guru sri charana Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Paritramadya Manasara Sena Romanchakam Pasrutaranga Bajo Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. So like that, Srila Prabhupada. Then in the background they had a tambura. Then they had kartals, someone playing kartals. And that recording was done in an actual record studio. Who could ever know that this is the first time that the voice of the pure devotee of Krishna, who's chanting Shuddha Nam with a couple of completely neophyte devotees who've just been devotees for a couple of months practically. And he went into this studio, okay, and they didn't have a chance to do 5 takes, 10 takes, you know, like again and again recording it because it didn't come out quite right. No, had to be the first time. So he recorded it. Boom. Now, that record, guess what happened from Prabhupada's recording? That record somehow or other came to the attention of some very famous musicians in the world. And I believe it was George Harrison who, first of all, caught the attention of that record because he was associated with Ravi Shankar, sitar player, and all of this. And so somehow he got a hold of that record and he ordered like 500 copies of it. Okay? This is way before he met the devotees, maybe 2-3 years even, before he met the devotees. And before he met Prabhupada. So, we all know the history of how when the devotees were sent, Prabhupada's disciples were sent to London, 3 householder couples and a baby. Was the baby there yet? I don't remember. Yeah, she was already there. So, we know the history of how they tried to meet the Beatles, and they were successful. But most people don't know that actually Prabhupada already met them. Prabhupada already instilled his potency into them. Krishna had arranged this. Everything that Srila Prabhupada did was unbelievably, incredibly, synchronicity. Everything he did, every step of the way. We watched, we were fortunate. Bhagavat Maharaj and myself, we came almost around the same time. He was a little bit before me. Vaikuntha Maharaj came like 71, right? Or a little bit earlier. Bhagavat Maharaj came in 70 or 69, late 60s, 70, 71. So we watched, and Sajjan Maharaj was like 74 or so, 75, 73. Yeah. Okay. So we had the opportunity to actually witness and watch and be part of this incredible, exploding spiritual revolution, the likes that the world had never seen before. Never! Nothing like this. No religious institution, no religious movement had ever manifested in this world like this one. And somehow or other we were fortunate to be there. Quite at the inception. And we watched and we experienced how Prabhupada was driving it forward continually, driving it, pushing it, guiding it. Now I want you to distribute books. Now I want you to double the number of books. Now I want you to double that number of books. Now I want you to distribute massive prasadam to the whole world. And if you do this, I'll be so pleased. You're adding years to my life. When I hear the distribution scores of my books, you're adding years to my life. And what did we want? We wanted Prabhupada to live forever. even though he was old man from the material point of view. But we could not conceive that he would ever leave this world. No. At least he'll be here for 100 or 150 years. We were thinking. And even at the very end, none of us believed. Bhagavat Maharaj and myself were right here in Vrindavan, going into Prabhupada's room every day, seeing him in that condition. And Prabhupada was giving all the signals that he was going to leave. None of us really believed that he was going to leave. We thought, no, Prabhupada is the highest supreme mystic yogi. He can do anything. He could immediately get better again, if it was his desire, you see. So, we felt that we were in a movement that very soon was going to take over the entire world. Maybe in our very lifetime. Maybe in our very life. This was not some kind of, childish imagination on our part. No. We saw what was happening. We felt what was happening. The US government even knew what was happening. And they said, this Hare Krishna movement is a big threat, yes, to our demoniac civilization. Russia, where Prabhupada went in 1971, set foot, his lotus feet in Moscow, observed the situation there, and implanted the seed of this preaching mission in the heart of one single Russian jiva soul. Not a Russian jiva soul, but a jiva soul in a Russian body. So that jiva was initiated by Prabhupada. Within 2 or 3 days, Shyamasundar Prabhu was there. He tells the whole story. You'll probably hear in his new book that's coming out, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. That's the title. You're all going to have to read that book. And he was there and he witnessed and he told the story. I heard on YouTube video, he was telling the story of how Prabhupada was just spending. He was giving all of his potency into this one person. And he was very intelligent and very receptive also. When Prabhupada left Russia, that one devotee went all over Russia in the most heavy communist time with KGB everywhere. And he risked his life. And he preached and preached and preached everywhere, Mahamantra. Within 10 years of that meeting with Prabhupada, there was a whole underground movement going on in Soviet Russia and all the Soviet countries that Russia had taken over. Yes. And then by the mid-80s, they realized we have to stop this. This atheistic, communistic regime realized we have to stop this movement. So they made a law, actually passed a law. Anyone who's a Russian citizen, if they teach these words to anyone, they're an enemy of the state. Yeah, they passed a law. These 16 words. Which 16 words?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So they had to actually write a law, pass a law. No one is allowed to teach this. We have devotees who were arrested by them. There's a couple named Rupanuga and Purnamasi. They were in the Soviet prison for 2 years. They told me all about it. Then they were released. And then later they got initiated by our beloved Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj. So they told me all about it. But that was the basis upon which they were able to put them into prison. Because they passed a law. It's illegal. You see. And they understood that there was a great threat from this movement to the communist regime. So they said, actually, there's 3 things that are a very, very great threat. 3 things. What is that? Drugs, which were starting to come in through the borders and so forth. Rock and roll music, which was also starting to come in. And Hare Krishna. So that Hare Krishna took over Russia. Because as soon as the Russian regime went down, and guess why it went down? The power of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the power of his pure devotee, that's why it went down. That's what's going on in the world today. That's why people are starting to wake up. That's why the demoniac civilization is being exposed more and more and more everywhere you go on the internet. People are now realizing what demoniac civilization is in control of this world, what demons. Prabhupada wrote it in his first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He exposed it all right there. And he preached it continually, non-stop, completely blasting and crushing. He had his method. He called it the slashing method. Slashing. Like you do with a sword. Slashing. And he challenged everything, everyone and everything in the Western civilization. Because it was all rotten. Completely rotten and decaying. So Srila Prabhupada came to start a spiritual revolution for all of human society, and he wrote that in the very preface of his Srimad Bhagavatam. And he quoted Srimad Bhagavatam, which itself is telling this fact. Tadvad visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratislokam abadyavatyapi namanyanantasya yashon kitaniya shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. Those who are sadhavas, those who are truthful and honest men, when they hear this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, this transcendental sound vibration, which is a new type of sound vibration, which will cause a complete spiritual revolution to re-spiritualize the entire human society. That's what he wrote. Yes, a misdirected civilization has no direction. No direction. You walk up to any person on the street in all the major cities around the world. My life. Eat, sleep, be merry, tomorrow we die. You'll get all kinds of answers like this. Mostly. Mostly. So misdirected civilization. And misdirected by who? By the leaders. Because the ordinary people are like, they're like innocent animals being led to slaughter, actually. But the general mass of people, if they have spiritual leaders, if they have powerful, spiritual, realized leaders who are direct representatives of the Supreme Lord, whole human society would change. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada even started a political party in America. Because he wanted even though his disciples were still young, but he wanted to show, yes, we're willing to even go directly into the political arena and directly show our philosophy to them. You see? And he assigned a couple of his disciples, you. And he called it, the name of the political party was In God We Trust Party. Yes, why? Because in America it's written on the coins. I don't know if it still is, but at least then it was. In God we trust. E pluribus unum in Latin. In God we trust. So America was supposed to be founded on God consciousness, right? God, awareness of God, awareness of the supreme rulership of God, that He's controlling everything. So Srila Prabhupada came, and when he came to, actually he came to London the first time, and that was in 1969, and the reporters met him at the airport, and they said, Swamiji, what have you come here to teach? And then he said, I have come to teach what you have forgotten. See? Prabhupada is very bold. He was not shy at all. He was so bold, and you can see it in his photos even. You can see it on the videos. He's the direct Paramahansa, swan-like pure devotee, who's not even touching the earth as he moves around this world, this planet, and as he has his head held high. Why? Because he's the representative of the Supreme Lord. And we understood this in his presence. we could feel we're in the presence of God Himself. That doesn't mean Mayavad conception. That means Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. That is Guru Tattva. And Srila Prabhupada did this. His glories are so unlimited. You can't even begin to recount His glories. Even if you just listen to one lecture of His, or you just listen to one conversation on His morning walks. I've been doing that recently, taking my lunch and putting on a lecture, actually morning walk conversations of Prabhupada, you know? One after the other after the other. It's a whole line of these files, these audio files. So I just take prasadam and listen and listen and listen. And it's unbelievable. Srila Prabhupada's, his intelligence was so sharp, it did not matter who was in front of him. You know? He would like to play mock debates with his disciples who were PhD scientists, like Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, you know, especially him. He started the whole dialogue with Prabhupada. On Venice Beach, Los Angeles, California. Then Prabhupada would take his morning walk, and then Swarup Damodar would come, and then on one of the tapes, Prabhupada starts the conversation, and he turns to Swarup Damodar and he says, "So, what do you have to say, Mudha?" Because Prabhupada would continuously call these people, these so-called scientists, Mudha, fools, rascals. Which word did he use? Which word? The R word. That word, Prabhupada, wow. If we count the number of times Prabhupada used that word, but it's so appropriate. Why? Because rascal is like an old English word, you know, rascal. But it means someone very misbehaved. Misbehaved. And that's actually the situation. Prabhupada wasn't condemning them. He wasn't sending them to hell. He wanted to save every one of these last rascals. He wanted to save every one of these last Mayaya Aparita Jnanas, which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, are the big scholars and intelligent persons who have the big titles and PhDs, but all of their knowledge that they think they have has actually been stolen away by Maya. Mayaya Aparita. She has stolen away their knowledge and they don't even realize how foolish they are. They don't even realize it because Maya is impossible to overcome. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, one of Prabhupada's one of his favorite verses that he used to quote. And there's a number of verses, we could give so many lectures on the favorite verses of Srila Prabhupada in his preaching. This was one of them. Daivi hyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam evaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. Here, Krishna is telling, O Arjuna, this Daivi Shakti, this energy, this Maya, this potency that surrounds, this engulfs this entire universe, this is my illusory energy. Mama Maya. This is my Maya. And it is made of the three modes of material nature and everything, Sattvagun, Rajagun, Tamagun, it's completely controlled by this. And it is impossible, Duratyaya, to cross beyond this Maya. Duratyaya means practically impossible. But then he says, Mam evaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. One who surrenders to me, Krishna, me, the person who's talking to you, Arjuna. One who surrenders fully to me, easily he can cross beyond this. Prabhupada pounded the false commentators of the Bhagavad Gita who were trying to kidnap Krishna's words and actually kill Krishna. Because they said, Krishna is not eternal, Krishna is only Maya. This form is just illusion. Oh, it is when Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that you should surrender to me, he doesn't actually mean that you should surrender to me, the person Krishna. But this is what the Mayavadi commentators said. They said, you should surrender to the unborn, impersonal absolute that is within Krishna. But Prabhupada said these are bogus rascals, cheating everybody. Because why? There is no difference between Krishna's inside and outside. He is absolute. He is the supreme person. He is the supreme spiritual form of all spiritual forms, and everything has come from him. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajanti mam buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of everything. Krishna has told this directly. When Srila Prabhupada quoted these verses, and you're sitting in front of him, you feel like you're hearing exactly, directly from Krishna himself. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything. Matak sarvam pravartate. From me, everything emanates. Iti matva bhajante mam. Buddha bhava samanvita. Those who are Buddha, very intelligent, who know this fact about me, that I am the source of everything. What do they do then? Bhajante mam, they worship me. And how do they worship me? Buddha bhava samanvita, with great bhav. With all their heart and soul, they fully surrender to me. Srila Prabhupada came to give Krishna to everyone, to every jiva in this world. Srila Prabhupada followed the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jari dako tari kaho Krishna upadesh. Whoever you meet, talk to him about Krishna. Without Krishna, everything is completely useless and worthless in this world. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth. Mata parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. O Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me, like pearls are strung on a thread. Everything is resting on me. Prabhupada gave Bhagavad Gita as it is, as Krishna spoke it. He didn't change anything. He revealed the purport of our Gaudiya Acharyas, of the realized persons in our line, who are actually representing Gauranga Mahaprabhu and Sri Rupa Goswami's conceptions. Prabhupada was the representative of Rupa Goswami. Our Gurudev revealed that to the whole world. Our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, he revealed this to all of the Prabhupada disciples, to all of the followers of Prabhupada. Everywhere he went throughout the world, he said, your Prabhupada, he is a Rupanuga Vaishnava. Why did he chant Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari before he spoke? No cowherd boy can sing this song. And if anyone says he's a cowherd boy, they are deviating from our Gurudev's line. Prabhupada is Rupanuga. He is in Gopi Bhav, completely overwhelmed with Gopi Bhav. That's why he could do it. And that's why he chanted this song, to completely inundate the hearts of everyone who would hear him singing this song. That now you come with me to the Kunja of Srimati Radhika, where Krishna is playing in his most satisfied way as Kunja Bihari, as Gopi Jana Ballabha, most beloved of the gopis. This is what he's saying. We didn't understand it at the time. We relished it, but we did not understand what his moods were. But our Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he revealed also what are his moods. He said he must be in this line of Rupa Goswami, and this line is purely Madhurya Rasa, not Sakya Rasa. Madhurya Rasa. And what kind of Madhurya Rasa? Most intimate maid servant of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Radha Dasyam. This is the goal of all of our acharyas. Radha Dasyam. Srila Sridhar Maharaj revealed it after Prabhupada. Why did Prabhupada not speak so much about these things? Because we were not yet ready to understand and hear them, and we would have mistaken, as many are even doing today, and making it sahajya, taking it cheaply. Prabhupada was guarding this treasure very carefully. Just like a minor. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, like a minor, you know, someone who has not come of age yet. So they don't get the full inheritance yet. What do they get? They get a guardian who looks after the inheritance until they come of age, and they can properly and intelligently utilize it. So we were minors. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, but now you must become majors. Now you must examine those documents that are left by your Guru Maharaj, that are left by him. And you must take that treasure, which is given by him, from all of our sampradaya. And then we came in connection with our beautiful, glowing, transcendental lotus face and lotus feet of our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. And he confirmed this fact to us. He confirmed what is Prabhupada's eternal swarup, his eternal identity. He confirmed it again and again and again. And he said, anyone who thinks that he's in Sakya Ras, he is wrong. Wrong, and wrong, and wrong. Is that clear enough to anybody? Is that clear enough? But those persons who want to deviate from his line and concoct their own line, they want to say, oh, but then after that he said such and such. Bogus. So we are speaking like this, in this way, in this mood, because we are trying to follow our Guru Varga, our Rupanuga Guru Varga. We will not tolerate if someone wants to change the very words that our Gurudev spoke. If someone wants to interpret differently than our Gurudev has interpreted. He is a perfect soul. He's not subject to illusion and mistakes. He has no false ego, no other agenda. And he's the most intimate servant of our Prabhupada. So he knows. And who else knows? Srila Gaur Govinda Goswami Maharaj. He was told by our Prabhupada himself, he can be the acharya of this whole movement. Why? Because he's perfected soul. He also told same thing. So, Prabhupada, he is coming from Goloka. And he is not a conditioned soul of this world. He is not one who had to go through the cycle of birth and death like the regular conditioned souls. He was sent here, and he was fully empowered. And who empowered him specifically to take this mission everywhere, to the far corners of the earth? Because no one can do it unless they're empowered. Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tare Pravartana. Without Krishna Shakti, no one can preach this mission of Lord Chaitanya everywhere throughout the world. So when Srila Prabhupada wrote his prayer on the Jaladuta, later on, after his departure from this world, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was reading this prayer, and there he said that Swami Maharaj he made himself so empty of any other desire, completely empty of any other desire, than to carry out the order of his Guru Maharaj. And he prayed for this empowerment. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, therefore, divine Shakti had to descend. Why had to descend? Because the pure devotee, who's completely dependent on Krishna, is praying for this. And then Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, that particular Shakti that descended is none other than Nityananda Shakti. Nityananda Prabhu, the savior of all the fallen souls, who is the supreme Patita Pavana, the supreme servant of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, who went to the lowest and lowest, most unqualified jivas, the most fallen. He didn't discriminate anywhere. He came into the body of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and he became Shakti Avesh Avatar. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, I declare this to be so. And he knew him before he went also, for many years. And he saw, yes, this one disciple of our Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has done a miracle. It is not something that even an ordinary, not ordinary, but general acharya can do. It is not something. This cannot be done without direct empowerment by the Supreme Lord Himself. So that personality, our Srila Prabhupada that we've heard so much about today, that we've heard about his loving dealings, we've heard about his preaching, we've heard about how amazing it was to be in his divine presence. That personality is existing eternally in the kunja of Srimati Radharani, in Goloka Vrindavan, and serving under the line of Sri Rupa Manjari, under the line of Sri Nayana Mani Manjari, under the servitude of Sri Vinod Manjari. That personality, our Srila Prabhupada, is there eternally, and he is showering his mercy on all the innumerable jivas on this earth planet who are getting his books, who are receiving his Vani, who are meeting his devotees. This whole movement is because of this one personality who carried out the order of his spiritual master unflinchingly, with giving every ounce of his energy. So we cannot glorify him enough. We cannot actually even begin to touch his glories. And we cannot estimate what kind of debt that everybody owes to him. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Everybody. In India and outside of India. Why? Because what's happening now, Vaishnavism going all over the world, it would never have happened without his coming. So we bow down at his divine lotus feet. Always we bow at his lotus feet. We beg to touch our heads to the glorious effulgent toenails of Srila Prabhupada. We beg to take the dust from his feet on our head and to hold his lotus feet within our heart and to beg him that one day we can actually become a true follower of his. We can actually become a real disciple. That we can actually serve his mission and the mission of his successors, like our Srila Gurudev, like Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. Those missions are branches now, coming out, and they're going all over the world. Like yesterday we heard from a disciple of Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Maharaj, such a wonderful preacher, Bhakti Swarup Sridhar Maharaj, and Bhakti Vibhud Bodhayan Maharaj going everywhere. This movement is now going all throughout human society, many branches of it, but it is resting upon the main branch, the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur branch, coming down through Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Vaman Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj, and coming down to through the present day, through the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this is a universal preaching mission. We may be in the beginning stages of this, and we may see some disunity here and there. But gradually, all these rivers are going to flow into the one ocean of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's family. This is predicted by Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So, yeah. Brajanath Prabhu just reminding me one final thing, that when Srila Prabhupada was departing from this world here in Vrindavan in 1977, November 14th, he called his GBC members to him a few days before that. And at that time he said, the war is over. That is his exact words. Because there was some conflict with his godbrothers and so forth. But he had to protect his fledgling disciples. And then he had them establish the Bhaktivedanta Charity Trust. And he instructed them that all of my godbrothers, there should be a fund to help them with their preaching mission, with their construction of their temple. And he said, I want now that we will begin to work together. So our Gurudev, Srila Narayan Maharaj, has done this historical feat. He is coming from the Gaudiya Math branch, and we are coming really from the ISKCON branch, most of the Western devotees, or even if you didn't come directly through ISKCON, you definitely have been influenced by his books and all. So Srila Gurudev, this is his historical moment, that there are so many senior Western disciples of Prabhupada, so many senior Indian disciples of the Gaudiya Math, and all are preaching and preaching together. So Prabhupada wanted unity. Gurudev wanted unity. He wanted an international society. He called it the International Pure Bhakti Yoga Society. He wanted this established. It has not yet been established as he ordered. But it will have to come. Because Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, organization is necessary in order to bring truth to the people. Without that, you cannot give this great mission. So, now we have to worship the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande.